All right, everybody, welcome back. We are going to get started with our second presentation, our second presenter of the day. Thanks to Carrie again for that amazing first session. And this is a really exciting session because I think it's probably the first time it's been done on, well, certainly on a podcast for real estate agents. I don't think it's been done before. So this is really cool. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring on Coach Brent Scott. I'm going to introduce him in just a moment. He's going to be doing a live coaching session with a fantastic agent, and he's going to help her get to that next level and figure out what she can focus on in the next 90 days to continue to improve and meet some of her goals. At the same time, we're going to ask you to follow along. Now, this is something where you get to actively participate. I have a poll, or I think it's called a poll, that I'm going to set up here, and we're going to be able to do this along. So as Brent is coaching Kiki, who I'm going to introduce as well in a moment, I want you to start answering some of these questions. Put them in the chat, or rather, you can either put them in the chat but better put them in the poll. So I'm going to pull that up here in just a moment so that we can follow along. And you don't fill it out yet, but you should have just now, hopefully everybody saw, I just launched the poll, so you should be able to see it. So we're going to do these one by one, and we're going to just wait. So don't fill it out yet, but you'll fill it out along the way, and then I'll give you kind of a cool little process that Brent is going to teach Kiki that you can do as well. And then Brent's going to give you an opportunity to actually do this with him as well. So first, let's introduce our guest. So, sorry, one second. There is Brent. Okay. So, Coach Brent Scott made a bold career shift in 2003, leaving behind a senior retail management position to venture into the world of real estate. And like many aspiring agents, he faced initial challenges, shocking, and exited the industry within 2 years. We know a lot of people do this, right? But undeterred, Brent relocated to Florida in 2005 and made a triumphant return to real estate, obtaining his broker's license. Despite navigating the turbulent market, we know what happened in 2007, 2008. The market crashed, but he's persevered and took a leap of faith by establishing his own brokerage in 2009. Although the venture encountered setbacks and ultimately failed in 2010, Brent refused to be discouraged. He regrouped, honed his leadership abilities, and embraced a mindset of learning from failure. In 2017, I'm sorry, I'm still sharing my screen. Let's stop doing that. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. You don't need to see that. And in 2017, Brent dedicated himself to coaching real estate agents full time, launching a highly acclaimed coaching program in Northwest Florida. Notably, this is amazing, 80% of his clients were fresh faces in the industry, and under his guidance, they collectively earned over $1 million in gross commission income in 2019. Presently, Brent holds the esteemed position of national coach and trainer at the Locker Room Real Estate Coaching Company. He shares his expertise through engaging continuing education workshops and provides personalized coaching to offices and agents nationwide. Additionally, Brent collaborates with approximately a dozen real estate brokerages, owners, and team leaders, leveraging his insights to help them amplify the growth of their organizations. Brent is also a fractional CEO of a prominent real estate brokerage here in Chicago. I have had the pleasure of working with Brent now for a number of years now. And boy, he is incredible. You're going to see him in action in just a moment. And I want everybody to check out The Locker Room, which is tlrnation.com. I'll put that in the chat. It is a really cool and a very different coaching company than you might expect. There's a lot of coaching companies out there, but Locker Room has a really fun atmosphere, and they know their stuff, and they really, really deliver results. And a lot of coaching companies claim to do that, but they actually do it, and which is why they're so successful. And so if you haven't checked them out, tlrnation.com is the place to go. We'll also be sending that out to you after the presentation. But Brent, welcome to the show again.
Well, thank you so much for the amazing introduction. I am on the road just south of Richmond, and my internet is not being friendly to me. So we're going to plow through this. If I have to turn off my computer to save some bandwidth, we're going to make this happen. So thrilled to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. And Brent is on the road, and we appreciate it. It's not easy to do that when you're on the road. So thank you for making time for us. I am also want to introduce the person that we are going to be coaching today, who is also a I I don't want to call her up and coming because she's already arrived, but she is still growing her business, and she is somebody who takes this business very seriously, and really is going between two careers. She's making that transition. That's not an easy thing to do. So we're going to talk to her today, but let's tell you more about Kiki Parmar, who's going to be coached by Brent today. And remember, you're going to get coached along the way. Go to that poll section. Don't answer anything yet, but we'll be doing that one by one here. But let's talk about Kiki Parmar, your real estate Chicago expert. Now, Kiki Parmar has been a licensed real estate agent for nearly 2 years. And within that short time, she has successfully transitioned from a dual career focusing solely on real estate. Now, we have so many people that want to do that. That is a scary thing, right? So she's in the middle of getting that done. She's basically got it done, but she can talk about that as well. But she holds 2 master's degrees related to her previous role as director of operations. She had a great career in another industry. She combines strategic thinking with a deep understanding of the market. Originally from India, she comes from a family of entrepreneurs. Her grandfather founded one of the largest and most successful sewing machine manufacturing and retail businesses in India. Now, Kiki always knew she wasn't meant for the traditional 9 to 5. As soon as her visa allowed her, she pursued her passion and obtained her Illinois real estate license. Her sharp negotiation skills and commitment to her clients have already resulted in 2.3 million in closed sales and under contract sales volume this year alone. Kiki thrives on helping clients achieve their real estate dreams and would be thrilled to share her insights on making the transition from dual career to successful full-time real estate business. So I want you also to follow Kiki on Instagram. You can find her at Chicago Realtor Kiki. I'll post that in the in the chat here. So please let's welcome Kiki as well. Kiki, welcome.
Thank you, DJ. That was a very generous introduction.
Well, we're just excited you're here. I also have one more piece that I'm going to be sharing with everyone. So I am in the process of uploading that. You'll see that in the chat, and it is called the Agent Wheel. And this is the process that Coach Brent is going to be utilizing. So I am putting that in there right now. I hope everyone can see it. I just sent it, so hopefully it's there. Click on it, but we're going to be answering these questions as well in the polls and quizzes, and this will give Brent and all of us an idea of where we're all struggling, because we're all struggling somewhere. So I'm going to let you guys take it from here, and I will mute myself. And Coach Brent, it's up to you. It's all you, and you can present as well.
Thanks, DJ. I appreciate it. Kiki, it's so nice to meet you today.
Thank you so much, Brent. Nice to meet you too. I've heard some amazing things about you.
Well, likewise. Before we dive in, amazing story. What motivated you in your real estate journey? What's gotten you this far in your quest?
Yeah, so a little bit about what DJ shared already. I don't think I was always meant to do a 9 to 5. I grew up in a business family back home, looking at my grandfather, my dad, my uncles, my brother, everyone working in business. They worked countless hours, so hard around the clock just to make sure that, the manufacturing business is going well. We're keeping our sales goals high. And so looked at team meetings, looked at like lead gen. So everything related to sales is something that I saw as I was growing up as a kid. So that was just deeply enrooted in me. My role as director of operations involved a lot of negotiations, strategic thinking, and client management, which really helps me with my real estate business now as I've, kind of made the transition to it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so what do you want to make sure you get out of this conversation today? I want to bring you value.
Yeah, I think since we have been speaking a lot about lead generation, if we can maybe focus on listings, that would be great. When I'm working my SOI, I have a lot of friends and family who are around my age. They're more in the first-time home buying phase. So if there's a lead gen strategy that can focus on specifically for listings, that would be great.
All right. So lead generation for listings.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start by zooming out. Okay. So lead generation is obviously a significant component of the real estate business.
Yeah.
And at the same time, sometimes we need to take a moment to zoom out at that 30,000 foot view and really take an opportunity to what I call interrogate reality. Figure out exactly where your business is today And then that will give you the absolute clarity on what you need to focus on in the next 90 days. And it's only a 90-day commitment. And the reason for that is because we can radically change the trajectory of our business if we put a lot of focus and intention on one key area of our business for just 90 days and then zoom out and reevaluate, reinterrogate. And so that's what I'm going to take you through the process today is we're going to zoom out, we're going to interrogate reality for your entire real estate business. And then we can zoom in and figure out a little bit more about which component is most impactful, okay?
Mhm.
And so have you seen my agent wheel before?
I have not. I'm looking at it now, though.
Excellent. So the agent wheel is broken up into 4 different quadrants. The 4 different quadrants are productivity, growth, systems, and profitability. And then within each one of these quadrants, there are 3 components that most directly impact that particular quadrant. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through each 12 of these major areas of your business, and we're going to score it on a scale from 1 to 10. Now, 1 means you need major improvement. 10 means that you have mastered that area. And I have always been able to challenge people to give me 10s, but I really like when I hear a 10 because that gives me an opportunity to learn more about what they're doing to be a 10. And there are no zeros because at least you know the words and everything that we're going to talk about, okay?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask you for a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of candor, a little bit of transparency as we go
Okay.
through this process. Fair enough?
Mhm.
Let's dive in. So in the productivity quadrant, the first component is lead generation. And for each one of these, I want you to think of it as a system within your business. So when we
Mhm.
think about lead generation, we think about how many leads do you consistently generate per week or month? We think about, are you relying on a single lead source or do you have multiple lead pipelines?
Mhm.
We think about the structured follow-up system for those new leads. What percentage of your leads actually convert into transactions? And then
Mhm.
finally, what is your most effective lead generation strategy and how can you scale it? So,
Okay.
scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your lead generation?
I think 6.
6. Describe a 6 for me in lead generation.
Yeah, so I think I was focusing a lot on one source of lead gen, which is my SOI and referrals. I have recently started, speaking with a little pay at closing companies, but I'm not the biggest fan of like picking up the phone and cold calling. So I do have a virtual assistant that does that for me, but I just started doing that. So, in 2 years, most of my business has come from, friends and family that I know, and referrals that I've gotten.
Okay. So I'm hearing that we've started to introduce some leverage through a virtual assistant to make those outbound calls that you really don't like, right? And you've got a pretty strong SOI presence, but other cold lead gen levers, we need to develop those a little bit. Am I picking that? Is that right?
Yeah, that is right.
All right, perfect. Let's talk about time management. So when we talk about time management, do you have a structured daily or weekly schedule, or do you work reactively? How
I
much
do.
time? Well, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions,
Oh,
okay? So take
sorry.
all these into consideration.
Okay.
All right. How much time do you dedicate daily to income generating activities versus administrative tasks? Think about, are you following or using time blocking techniques to make sure that you've got consistency in lead generation and follow up? What are the distractions that are negatively impacting your productivity? And finally, do you track those daily activities so that you can make sure that you're measuring efficiency and identifying areas for improvement? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your time management?
7.
7. Describe for me 7 in time management.
So I have my calendar time blocked, and this came in very handy because I was working another full-time job. So I really had to stick to my calendar. Now, the reason why it's 3 points less is because sometimes I'm not able to stick to it if I'm pulled into last minute meetings from another job, or if I have last minute showing requests where my time was initially blocked for follow-ups, or just making calls to past clients.
And so, what would need to happen to take it from a 6 to an 8?
You mean 7 to 8?
I'm sorry. Yeah, 7 to an 8.
Um, I think if I can at least 90% of the time focus on doing activities that I have actually blocked my time for, then that would take it from a 7 to 8.
All right. So competing priorities are a little overwhelming right now. And if we can streamline those competing priorities so that not 100% of your weekly calendar is followed, but 90%, you're 90% there, then that would make a difference.
Yeah.
How would that impact your business?
Oh, I think significantly.
Well, more specifically, how specifically would that impact your business?
I think of the story where I lost a lead by just not picking up the phone and calling them, which I had scheduled or time blocked time for. So it's definitely associated with either jeopardizing my relationship, my reputation, or, my client.
So when you didn't follow your time block, that resulted in a lost business opportunity
Yeah.
specifically.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Anybody who's listening, that's a lesson. Okay. Let's jump to referrals. So when I talk about referrals, I talk about, what percentage of your business come from referrals? Do you have a system in place for asking for referrals from past clients and contacts? How do you show appreciation for the referrals that you receive so that encourages repeat referrals? How do you engage with past clients to stay top of mind? And are you leveraging social media, events, email campaigns, all of the ways to generate more referrals? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your referrals?
5.
All right. Describe a 5 for me.
So, I think my SOI trusts me enough that they send me referrals, but I don't have a system in place for consistently asking for referrals or maybe thanking folks. I mean, I do thank them as soon as I get the referral and I start working with them, but I don't have a system in place for like following up and, consistently being on top of mind.
Okay. All right. All right, so that gives us a productivity quadrant score of 18. Let's move into the growth score. And so the growth score is that database. And so when we talk about database, a couple of things that I want you to think about: how many contacts you in your database, how often do you communicate with them, how segmented is your database based upon the relationship level? Do you have an automated CRM system that tracks your interactions and follow up? What percentage of your business comes from your database? We've talked about that, of course. And how can you improve engagement with your database to increase those repeat and referral business opportunities? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your database?
That's a 4.
A 4.
Yeah.
Tell me about a 4.
So I do have at least about 2,500 contacts in my database that are complete. So I have their phone number and email. Now, I've recognized this and I've already spoken to my virtual assistant about helping me out with segregating the leads based on sellers, buyers, tenants, just personal contacts, other agents that are in my database, so that I can set up drip campaigns for each of these. So this is on my top priority for this year, and I've already started working on it. That's why it's a 4 was an area of concern for me, and that's why I've decided to kind of combat it in Q1 of this year itself.
Excellent. Okay. So you are you are putting intention right now towards improving that database.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Vendor partners. When we talk about vendor partners, I am not talking about your preferred vendors or the list of 3 people that you give when somebody asks you for a home inspector, right? I am talking about those strong referral partner relationships. Like, do you have 10 to 15 of them and they actively sending you business? When you think about your vendor partners, are you communicating with them and meeting with them just to strengthen the relationship? Um, is the partnership mutually beneficial, or are you just providing them with a lot of business opportunity? Do you collaborate on joint ventures or marketing efforts or client appreciation events? And how can you expand your vendor network to include more referral opportunities? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your vendor partner?
Yeah, so that one's going to be a 4 too. And it's interesting you asked this question because I was thinking about this last night where I have contractors, mortgage lenders that I'm the one sending referrals to them, but I have gotten 0 referrals back from any of them. I've at least given each of them 4 to 5 clients that I've converted, because these have been friends, families, people that, of course, like me, know and trust me and take my opinion seriously. So yes, that's another area I have to focus on this year.
Okay. All right. And then finally, personal growth. So sometimes we need to spend some work improving the 6 inches between our ears, right? And so thinking about personal growth, what is your personal development plan for improving your skills and knowledge? How much time do you dedicate each month to training or coaching or education? Are you part of mastermind groups or a mentorship program or a coaching network? What books or courses or training programs have you read that have significantly impacted your business? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate personal growth as a system?
I think 7.
Okay. Describe a 7 in personal growth.
So I dedicate 30 minutes every single day before bedtime to read a personal growth book. A couple of ones that I've read is Ninja Selling, 5 a.m. Club, How to Talk to Anybody, and then my current one that I'm reading is Think and Grow Rich. Other than that, I'm a big fan of also like personal development. So I love I love listening to motivational speakers. So I went to Tony Robbins' event towards end of last year. I'm gonna go to 2 more of his events this year. But yes, that's what I've been doing. Other than that, I also spend about 15 minutes every morning looking at scripts, because I personally feel I'm not the best on the phone. Like if you get me in front of a client, I definitely have a very high conversion rate, but I'm working on my scripting.
I like it. I like it. Okay. So that gives us a growth quadrant of 15, a growth quadrant score of 15. Let's move into the systems quadrant. And so the first component of the systems quadrant is that transaction management. This is the time frame between contract to close, right? And so when you think about transaction management as a system, first off, is it consistent? Is it repeatable? How often do deals get delayed or fall through the cracks because of missing paperwork or bad communication? Do you have checklists or automated systems? Do you have a transaction coordinator, or are you doing everything yourself? And finally, are there things that you can do to improve the efficiency in handling contracts, inspections, closing procedures? Scale from 1 to 10, rate that transaction management system for me.
That's gonna be a 7.
7. Talk to me about transaction management.
Yeah, so this is something I realized earlier this year when business started taking off a lot. I don't know if Risa's still on the call, but she connected me with an amazing transaction coordinator. She's also a full-time real estate broker, but she does documentation management on the side. So I've been collaborating with her very consistently. I've also started recruiting for my team, and I already have 1 team member recruited as of last week who will be joining KL soon. But another team member is specifically going to be responsible for transaction management.
Awesome. So I'm hearing high leverage,
Yes.
right? And I'm sure that your operational management experience plays into the understanding how important leveraging off some of that administrative stuff is, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Is there anything you regret about hiring a transaction coordinator?
Sorry, did you say regret?
Yeah.
Um, Not at the moment. Maybe when I hire someone new and might have to teach them our new system that we also just recently started using.
Yep.
That might take some time from me, but no regrets right now.
Awesome. All right. Let's talk about client care. So when we talk about client care, we talk about, how would your clients describe their experience in working with you? How do you have a structured process for keeping clients informed during the buying and selling process? How often do you provide those personal touches, those handwritten notes or gifts to your clients? Are you gathering feedback from them so that you can improve your own processes and systems? And what do you need to implement to really create that 5-star client experience? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your client care?
9.
9. Talk to me about client care. What does a level 9 client care look like?
Yeah, so basically everything you said, apart from collecting feedback from them, when I'm working either with buyers or sellers, I try to reduce any kind of ambiguity because that's where anxiousness comes from. So I have a detailed process that I review with buyers during a buyer consultation, and with sellers as well when I'm, going for a pre-listing appointment or listing appointment. I walk them through different steps that even come into play while working with a multiple offer situation. So we're not kind of in a fix when we're dealing with it. So I try to give them multiple possible scenarios even before we're kind of in the middle of it. So I think that's what gives them a lot of confidence when they're working with me. And that's what turns into high recommendations and referrals. I don't have a system in place for gathering feedback from them. So that's something I can work on.
Hang tight with us, guys. Coach Brent is coming back. He is on the road and his internet's a little spotty. So just hang tight for a second. We will get him back. While we're waiting, Kiki, tell me about the journey from dual career to single career. How has that been going? And how did you start to make that transition?
Yeah, so when I got into real estate, I never got into it thinking that I'm gonna do it as a side hustle. Like I always knew it. The goal is to transition full time. Um, I'm a very numbers driven person because I used to work in operations. So I'm super number driven. So when I got to a point financially and I started getting my sales volume goals, that's when I realized that now it is time to give back to my clients, work with them more, spend more time doing what I'm truly passionate about, and just jumping out of the bed, feeling excited to do what I want rather than just provide 4 or 5 hours a day for something I would want to do, maybe 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, and I want to ask about this 2,500 contact list in your or sphere of influence list in your contacts.
Mhm.
How did you develop that? And by the way, guys, there's a great statistic. You can look this up on ChatGPT. You don't have to take my word for it. It is estimated that 10 to 15% of your database is going to transact in real estate over the next 12 months. That is just like a statistic that apparently is true. So she has a pretty big database. So her ability to find clients is all in that database. So can you just, Brent's back, so we're going to bring him back on. But can you just share with us, how did you build that database, that sphere of influence?
Yeah, some of that came from, folks reaching out to be on Instagram, Facebook. My husband also works in sales, so he works in manufacturing. So his company is, kind of a tight-knit company. They have 30 employees. So them, their spouses, their children, if they're older enough to, transaction real estate. I've been here for 8 years and I'm a very, very social person. My house is always known as a party house. I always have friends over, friends always get more friends. So I think that's kind of the reason how the database has grown so much. I think I love hosting people. I love hosting events. So that's how I get to know a lot of people.
Awesome. So remember that, everyone, 10 to 15% of everyone in your database is going to need a realtor in the next 12 months. Now, are they going to choose you? Well, you should have a good communication strategy to make sure that you're reaching out to them every month in some capacity. But we're going to turn this back over to Brent. He is back.
Thank you so much. Those internet gremlins are messing with me right now. So we're going to continue to power through. I appreciate that. The last thing that I heard in the client care situation was systematizing that feedback process. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, let's jump to the follow-up process. So the follow-up is that time frame in between when somebody raises their hand and says, I might be interested in needing help with real estate, and the point where they decide to work with you. Okay. And so when you think about your follow-up, ask yourself things like, how long does it take for you to follow up with a new lead? Do you have a structured follow-up plan? Do you use emails and text message and calls, a sequence of different follow-up methods? And how frequently do you follow up with past clients after the closing? And then finally, do you have a re-engagement plan so that those cold leads that didn't initially convert, you can go back and re-engage and convert them? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your follow-up?
9.
9. Talk to me about follow-up.
So I am very thorough about, getting a new lead in my CRM, inputting their information, texting them, emailing them, calling them at frequent intervals. Not so much that it gets annoying. I know some of these lead gen companies say as soon as you get a lead, call them like 9 times in 4 days till they answer your call. I don't do that. I want to give them time to breathe. I know everyone has things that they're doing in life other than real estate. So I have, a specific time frame that I follow up with leads. I've actually never had a lead tell me that please don't call me or text me or email me ever again, which I think is quite nice in our business because I hear agents get that pretty often. So other than converting cold leads and putting them onto a drip campaign or a strategy that might make them into a warm or hot lead, I think I do make all of the other touch points.
Excellent. All right. That gives us a systems quadrant score of 25. Highest quadrant so far. Makes sense. Operations management background type of situation, right? Okay. All right. Let's dive into the profitability quadrant. And so the first component of profitability is net worth. And when I talk about net worth, I'm not asking, do you have all the money that you want to have? Okay. Think about net worth as a system. So do you know what your current net worth is? How often do you track it? Are you building long-term wealth through savings or investments or real estate? How much of your income are you reinvesting into your business versus personal savings? Do you have financial goals beyond just earning commissions like retirement or investing? And finally, do you have specific strategies that you are employing in order to increase your net worth over time? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your net worth?
This is a 9.
9. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your net worth system.
Yeah, so as you might have guessed, I obviously love Excel a lot. I'm a numbers gal, so I wake up looking at Excel and I sleep before I sleep and I look at Excel too. So I know exactly what leads I'm talking to, what their preferred buying or selling range is, what their conversion rate or what my prediction is that they'll convert and how far out. So I make all of those predictions to understand if I'm on track to meet my goals for that month. And then, yes, I do have a financial advisor who also invests on my behalf to maintain a portfolio because I do have a net worth goal eventually, and then also before the end of this year. Yes, I think that is that's how it gets to a 9.
I want to key in on something that you just said. I have a net worth goal. That is very different than an income goal or even a profitability goal. That is the third level of financial awareness, is to have a net income goal. So if you're taking notes, the success leaves clues. Let's dive into budget. So questions with regards to budget. Number one, do you have one? Do you have a monthly and annual budget for your business expenses? Do you know what percentage of your revenue is allocated for taxes and marketing and operational costs? Are there expenses that could be reduced or eliminated? Do you separate your business and personal finances so that you can maintain that financial clarity? And then finally, how often do you review your budget to make sure you're staying on track towards your budget, profit, and growth goals? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate the budget?
9.
9. Talk to me about your budget.
So of course I have at the beginning of the year I set aside a budget for the whole year. Now I am experimenting with a couple of companies when I'm doing lead gen, but I have what I read in this book. It's called Red Lights, red light, green light. So I will put 3 months of my expected, expenses in it, and if I don't see ROI, I will stop. I also try not to invest in multiple lead sources at one time, which gives me a financial constraint. Um, and then other than that, I do leave a little bit extra room for budget if I do want to spend either on, social media marketing, which is one of my top goals for this year.
And so it sounds like you are budgeted for growth, not only sustainability. I like it. I like it. And then finally, P&L. So if budget is looking forward, P&L is looking backwards. And so do you regularly review your profit and loss statement? Do you know what your profit margins are and how it's changed over the last year or two? Are you generating enough revenue to cover your expenses? Do you track your return on investments for marketing and lead gen? We've talked about that. And then finally, what can you do to increase revenue while reducing unnecessary business expenses? Scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate that P&L?
8.
8. Talk to me about P&L.
So of course I track my profits and my expenses and net income, but I do need to spend a little more time looking at previous and historical data and how much it's improving. I know it's improving, but I do need to continually track how much. I also want to start tracking where my highest ROI is and which lead source it's from. I have a general idea on numbers, but I would love to get the exact numbers in front of me.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Kiki, if we look at the agent wheel as a visual representation of your business, does this look like your business as it sits today?
Yes.
What stands out to you?
I'm actually surprised that the system scored 25 because I know my CRM needs a little bit of work, but that I think that probably falls into growth.
Oh, yeah, CRM need a little bit of work over here in that database.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What else stands out to you?
Um, I think productivity is shockingly low because I consider myself to be an efficient person. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I have been able to transition from a dual career to full-time real estate. So I know time management is pretty decent among that, but lead gen and referrals is something that I need to work on.
Okay. All right. So if there was one of these 12 quadrants that you felt needed the most attention in the next 90 days that would have the biggest ripple effect. So you increase that, it increases numbers around it.
Mhm.
There is one area that you would want to focus on in the next 90 days. What would that area be?
I would have said database, but I'm already taking steps towards it. So maybe I'm gonna go to the next part and say lead gen.
Lead generation.
Mhm.
Okay. So you scored lead generation a 6. Talk to me about what you need to keep doing when it comes to lead generation. What are the things that are really working well?
Yeah, so I get a lot of questions or inquiries on Facebook, often on Facebook Marketplace and sometimes on Facebook Messenger. I do continually follow up with them, but I'm sure you've looked at Messenger. It's not the most, updated software, if I would say. It's you cannot date filter it. There's no like, how Gmail sends you a reminder, oh, it's been 4 days, you haven't followed up with someone. It doesn't give you any of those AI prompts. I think if there was a way I could work on that, then I would convert a lot of leads.
Okay. So keep doing is you need to keep generating uh, the engagement, the interactions, the questions on Facebook.
Yeah.
Something that you need to be more intentional about doing is systematizing or automating the follow-up process. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay. What else do you need to keep doing as it relates to your lead generation? What's working well?
I think I do post pretty consistently on Instagram, which seems to be working well. I do get a fair amount of comments and DMs asking questions. I've also within the last 2 years I've started to understand when my friends are, I'm just curious about something to convert them into like, okay, I think they might be right to make a decision about something. So just working those people in my database or on my Instagram.
So I'm hearing the content posting, you've got a good rhythm, it creates engagement, it creates followers, and I'm hearing that you're working the pipeline and the long-term pipeline is starting to catch up because now those people that a couple of years ago you're just introducing yourself, oh, maybe someday, now that
Yeah.
someday's starting to come up, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right. So pro tip, the consistency in the long play actually works, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else you need to be more intentional about doing with regards to your lead generation?
Not that I can think of at the moment. Yeah, I think the ones that we discussed are my top priorities.
Okay. Is there anything that you need to stop doing as it relates to lead generation?
I don't think so because I haven't, nobody's told me like stop annoying me or don't bother me. So I'm going to take that as a positive sign.
Okay. All right. And is there anything that you're not doing at all that you know you need to start doing?
Like now, I know I need to get drip campaigns. My database is in a mess. So I need to sort it and have drip campaigns for each of my leads.
Okay. All right. So what I have just walked you through, Kiki, is the KISS process. What do you need to keep doing? What do you need to be more intentional about doing? When you need to stop doing?
Oh no, he froze again.
That's all right. We will wait to get Brent back on. He'll be back in just a moment. Um, and I wanted to ask you, Kiki, too. So you're going to work on your database and get your database with respect to the sort of communication policy, right? Like you're going to be sending out messages. How many times a year do you want each of those 2,500 contacts to hear from you?
At least twice a month.
And how are you going to do that? Is it all email? Is it going to be SMS? Is it going to be phone calls? What's the best strategy for you?
I think it's going to be one either email or text once a month, and the other would be some kind of mailer, whether it's a gift or it's a card, whatever that might be.
Okay, let's figure out exactly what you're going to do for the first month. So, what is that text going to say?
Um, I think it's probably going to be an email because I'm going to set up a drip campaign. So it's
Okay.
definitely going to be an email. A text would be to my very, very like top close friends, probably.
Okay, so what do you want to put in that email, or what ideas do you think might be of value to your clients?
Yeah, so I think it just depends on, what month it is. Like, for example, we're in March now. A lot of folks have either filed or are filing taxes. I know sending my sellers some of those files or my buyer some of the files that we closed recently would be helpful. Giving some key, tax tips would be helpful. Connecting them to tax pros would be helpful. So just depending on time of the month. So that
I
was my
love that.
plan for March.
So maybe not even a real estate related tip, just hey, taxes are due. We all have challenges around taxes. And if you don't have a professional, here's somebody to work with, and here's some maybe ideas for deductions or whatever. I love that. And now, when you do send text messages to your list, not your close friends,
Yeah.
um, do you send literally just texts, or do you do videos, or what are you sending out to people?
Yeah, I generally just send texts and it's more so like, hi, XYZ, I hope you are doing well. Just want to check in and see how you're doing. Maybe if it's a good time, let's try to catch up for, coffee sometime soon. So I at least can get a meeting out of a text.
And you're not asking for business. You're not saying, hey, are you looking to buy or sell? Hey, who do you know who's buying or selling? Because yeah, nobody wants those texts either. Coach Brent is back, but that's really helpful. So you know that each one of the people in your database, once you segment them out, and the people that we're talking about right now, maybe it's not all 2,500, but
Yeah.
the ones you want to hear from you are going to hear from you 24 times at a minimum over the next 12 months. What do you think that's going to do to your uh, I don't know what the right word is, your capture ratio, I guess that would be the right word, of those people when they need business? I mean, I can't imagine it's going to decrease.
Yeah, I think that combined with my social media strategy, that is the focus of this year. I think all things real estate is what, I want them to think. So, an example that Carrie gave, I have a client, a buyer lead that recently closed, but he still has questions about a tenant that's living in the condo that that he purchased, but he's not going to move in. So he keeps sending me some questions about it, and he's like, I'm so thankful that you're still, engaged with me, although we closed a transaction. So I think folks have, or, our clients have such low expectations that, the realtor is going to vanish as soon as they get commission. So I did let them know that, I'm here for anything I can help you with, even if it's not real estate related. So I'm happy to be a resource for you if I'm able to.
That's a great suggestion. I am going to turn it back over to Coach Brent real quickly, though, just to piggyback. May I offer a suggestion about those questions that you get from clients after the sale? I would turn that into social media content, short form content. Hey, I just had a client that asked me what they should do about a tenant that's still in a property that, blah, blah. That's a 30-second video. And, maybe it doesn't apply to everybody who's going to see the video, but they're going to go, wow, she knows things. And so you can turn any client question into social media content. Just turn that phone around, ask the question, and answer it. All right, back over to Coach Brent.
Thank you,
I
DJ.
I sure do appreciate the consideration, and I'm sorry that these connection gremlins are still creeping up on us, but we're going to power through this. We went through the KISS process. We identified the things that you need to keep doing, being more intentional about doing, stop doing, and start doing, right? And one of the things that I heard was the drip campaign is something that you need to start doing on a more consistent basis. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
How could you tie that into finding more listings?
Because I need to have seller focused drip campaigns. I have templates that I've already created or started creating. I just need to sort and clean the database and then start putting those templates within it. And I have somebody who's agreed to help me with it, just as of yesterday. So I'm going to start working on that. Like right after this, I have a call with my assistant.
Okay. What would be the next step, or what else could you do in order to improve the lead generation focused specifically on listings?
I think that was my question to you, but other than that, I also send market reports to homeowners once a month. So it's just like, oh, this is what has sold in your area for X amount of dollars within Y days. So it's not, even like nearly suggesting that you should sell your home. It's just giving you information of activity that's happening around your area.
Okay. Have you had conversations, or how frequently do you have conversations with your people that you're sending those market reports to?
Not very often.
Okay. And so if there was information in that market report that might have gotten missed in the email, what might a conversation help you accomplish?
Yeah, I think they might have, they can ask me live questions about something that they might not have understood from the report, or some
Okay.
other pressing concern that or question that might have come up recently for them.
Okay. What else could you do during that conversation?
Provide a complimentary market analysis.
Okay. What else could you do?
Brent, I've exhausted all my options now.
All right. May I offer you a recommendation?
Yes, please.
All right. Um, I think that one of the best ways to engage in your database is do what I call need generating, not lead generating, need generating. And so, what I find is exceptionally important is to identify and really get creative on how many different types of questions you can develop that will help you identify a need. And it's not a need related to real estate specifically. If you can identify people's needs, then that gives you the opportunity to fill those needs. And whether those needs are more understanding about the market in your local area, or that need is somebody to help you renovate that bathroom, or that need is somebody to grind Fido's nails, whatever that need is, if you are the person that helps them fill the needs in their life, you will definitely be the person that helps them fill the needs in their real estate business, in their real estate life. And so, what I would encourage you to do is identify those needs, and specifically as it relates to selling. So, what are some questions that you could ask that might help you identify a motivation that somebody might have to sell?
Um, Specifically, I know for folks that have, a longer travel distance, I try to ask them that, how's your commute? How do you commute every day? Are you happy with the amount of time you're spending commuting? Is there anything, would you ever consider living in another neighborhood? If there's an ideal neighborhood in your mind, what would that be if you got everything that you wanted on your list, and what that list looks like?
I love that. So that 1 year, 2 year mark is a real good time to have those conversations because they're kind of settling into being there, right?
Yeah.
What's something that you could ask somebody that's been in their home for maybe 7 to 11 years?
Um, I'm not sure if they know if they have kids and if they've moved out, if they would consider, either downsizing or if they want a bigger house for themselves. I know sometimes it really helps. I heard in conversation that I think this place is too big for me. I think I want to now move closer to the city now that kids have moved out. So I think those kind of conversations also help me understand if they're looking for something.
One of the ways to get people to do business with you is to become their dream maker. And in order to become somebody's dream maker, you have to know what their dreams are.
Yeah.
And so a great question that you could ask somebody would be, it's amazing that you like living in your house now. What's it going to be like in 3 to 5 years? You're already starting to feel that return of that consistency of having those conversations a year or two ago, right?
Yeah.
Continue to plant that seed, continue to identify those people that you can segment in your database as 2 to 3 year sellers, one to
Yeah.
2 year sellers, 6 month sellers. And then every 90 days, follow back up with them and see what you can do to help them accomplish their dream. What's the next step? Even if it's 3 years away, maybe we need to start talking about renovating that kitchen or updating that bathroom. So if you can help identify what people's dreams are and give them tools, resources, people to help them accomplish those dreams, especially as it relates to moving forward in their life, then that will certainly help you identify listing opportunities for today and for years to come.
Wow, I love that advice. Thank you, Brent. I was
And
also
it
taking notes when you were talking.
and it doesn't cost a thing to do any of that, does it?
No.
Perfect. Is that an idea, or is that something that you could implement to move forward to help you focus and get more listing opportunities?
Yes, 100%.
Excellent. Kiki, is there anything else that I can help you with or anything else that I can do to bring value to you today?
Don't think so. I'm so appreciative of, you driving and multitasking with your internet situation and still, completing this activity and providing so much value to all of us.
Well, thank you for your grace. I appreciate that. And for everybody that's participating, I want to share that we have the opportunity for you, if you didn't get the chance to work through the agent wheel process live, we have the opportunity for you to work through that agent wheel process as well as view a couple of our other locker room university courses. So, Kiki, if you would be interested in a follow-up conversation, I would love to get some time on your calendar, maybe 30 or 60 days, to catch up and find out what progress you've made on that lead generation. And if any of you listeners out there are participating, if you have completed your agent wheel, then I would invite you to email me your completed agent wheel, and I will find an opportunity for you to have some time with either myself or one of the other locker room coaches to find out what your 90-day game plan might look like. So, Kiki, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. DJ, what else can I do to bring you value?
Nothing. Let's all go. Let's all thank Brent for his time and Kiki for her vulnerability and courage to expose her entire business to everyone here. Thousands and thousands of people are going to hear this, and she very courageously stepped forward and said, I want to participate. And thank you, Brent, for doing that. I will say, too, that everybody needs a coach. I was just had somebody on the podcast a few episodes back, you can find it, who was a professional X Games snowboarder. And she had an injury that ended her career, but she was the real deal, one of the top in the world. And she said when she got into real estate, she had to figure out something else to do. By the way, her career ended at like 24. She grew up on the slopes. She said, I'm going to go into real estate. And she said the most important thing she did was get a coach. She said, I've had a coach my whole life in snowboarding. Every professional athlete I know has a coach. Coaches tell me exactly what to do, and I'm a good student, and I just do what they tell me, and I get results. So if you don't have a real estate coach, you owe it to yourself. You can't do it all yourself. You just can't. I wish we all could, but we can't. We need somebody to help us out. Reach out to Coach Brent and see, and the locker room. The link's there. Check out their stuff. Guys, they are the real deal. I've heard every coaching company pitch us to be on our podcast. This is the only one we support because we know they get results and they're good people. So, and they're not going to, they don't have that slimy upsell thing that a lot of the coaching companies do. They're just good, honest, awesome coaches. So please check them out, tlrnation.com. There's a link as well in the participant chat here, and try some of their free stuff. They got great stuff, and send that agent wheel over to Brent so he or one of his team members can assist you. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. We will come back with Kim Ritberg. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Kiki.
Thank you, DJ. Thank you, Kiki.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll go to about 5 minutes after, so we'll give you a full 10 minutes there. So enjoy, and we'll come right back. Thanks.